Okay, you want me to tell you what's awesome?
6 o'clock, first order of business is the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
He asked me not to.
Yeah.
And you didn't think it was good right there.
Yeah.
Good to know. Now you're getting it.
We could approve the minutes of September 20th.
So moved.
There you go.
Second. Any further discussion on that?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor, it's everybody. Members reports, we'll start with you, Ron.
Nothing really comes to mind. We'll probably get into most of that stuff later.
I visited actually with part, like an extra large limb of the tree is off and seems to have like disrupted one of the foot bridges. I don't know if that's on anyone's radar, but
When did you go? Because I was out there.
pretty recently.
Is it the big one that they were originally
Tuesday,
talking about?
Monday.
Another one.
Monday.
Oh,
That was it.
okay, so-
It's super huge,
It's big.
yeah, so it's gonna stay there and
Okay.
they're gonna, Janice Maniac is planning on building some sort of feature around it because you can't pull it out without making it damage.
Okay, cool. I just didn't know if that was. That's all I got.
Excellent, and I have nothing I remember, so that works good, we'll dive right into the town manager's report.
All right, we got some of it, but we had some stuff coming in today, so we'll get through it hopefully. Absentee ballots, you can request those online right now. Next week, you should be able to vote in the office. Or we'll get out any of your requests by mail, starting next week. And again, you can come into the office, request online, or you can give us a call, we can take care of that. Monday will be closed for the holiday. We received our 2024 state valuation, proposed state valuation. Our value is up about 48 million over last year. Seems ridiculous, but our overall share of the relative county is down. And then kind of breaking it out for our school assessment potential, that's also down. So while we're in a pretty good position when it comes time for taxes, I think that's going to be good news for us. And with the issuance of tax bills, we have a lot of adjustments, not a lot, but a dozen probably total for the Board of Assessors to handle. That will be next Thursday morning at 9. DEP has implemented new subsurface wastewater rules. Related to that is the use of portable toilets on a property. You cannot have it for more than 7 consecutive days unless it's an active construction site without express written permission from the plumbing inspector. So I've asked the plumbing inspector to grant us letters for the town-owned facilities being the ball fields, Wasula Park, and National Wind Park, and those are indefinite unless rules change. Waste Management notified us that they have submitted their application to DEP for the biosolids processing facility. And that application has been accepted, the chapter 409, to modify that permit for the facility. They're also working on issuing a proposal for you folks to consider for the operating agreement associated with that facility. This afternoon, I got an update on that. They're running just a little bit behind. And they are hoping to get you something for your November 1st meeting to be able to review. There should be some financial implications to the town as a result of that. Maine DOT has had notice that the street lamps originally requested to be included in the sidewalk upgrade project, which is looking like a 24 to 25 project, don't comply with the new state law for lighting standards. So they have found us a very similar one from the same manufacturer, and that's compliant and be covered by the program. So I've given them the go ahead on that. TIF committee, I do expect them to meet on the 24th of October. Taxes were due. We are slightly behind collection. It didn't move too much last time, but still not bad versus last year. What's going on at the library? We have the new librarian, if you remember, Kelly, and we're seeing a lot more folks show up for programs. We're seeing your library card count go up, and just a growth in overall patron count. So that's all good news there, very encouraging. She's kind of changing the method of outreach, which is benefiting the library. So special thanks to her for getting into that position, really hitting the ground running. And it's refreshing. So trustee meeting, they were canceled at the library for September. They're on for 10/26. The Chewonki program with owls, the live owls will be at the Grange Hall on October 21st at 11. It's a very popular program. Last time they did that, they were overflowing the Grange. So it's a good thing for everybody there. The community mural unveiling, that's at Emery Square downtown. That's scheduled for October 14th at 10 a.m. FEMA, that related back to the May rainstorm. I had my initial meeting with them last week. I have another meeting here next week to discuss our expenses. I've got a bunch of stuff to get together. Bills and things like that. But that should be moving in the right direction for us. The High Family Dealerships, the Skowhegan Savings Bank, they hosted the fifth annual first responder barbecue last week. So we always appreciate that, what they do for us there. The preliminary intersection work right here at routes 201A by the bank and post office, that was scheduled to take place this week. It did not. I got on a weekly call and we were looking at 2 to 3 weeks, and I got a date today that right now it looks like it's October 17th, 18th, and 19th. So I reinforced with them that when that happens, it's going to bottleneck this town pretty significantly. So we want to get
17th, 18th, 19th.
October 17th, 18th, and 19th.
So
So
weekend,
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday, Thursday.
not a weekend.
once we get that, once we get closer to then, we'll notify folks with the electronic sign, Facebook, Instagram, webpage, and the school. That's going to be important there. So I also expect we're going to have a closure on Sandy River Road sometime next week. It's kind of up in the air. We thought it was going to be Wednesday, but we're going to do a cross culvert replacement, and rather than creating a bypass, they can go around the other way. And that will be posted in relatively the same manner there as well. The primary engineer, that is Justine from Haley Ward. They're also managing our congressionally directed spending allocation. So that's a $2.5 million roadway project. It's just been an arduous administrative process getting through HUD. And so I had a meeting with her last week. We're hoping that that's going to be all freed up and lined up for us so that we can hit construction on Sandy River, possibly Bigelow Hill, put asphalt on Bigelow Hill if budget allows. So we should know more there. And Public Works did take delivery of the new truck last week, and Kluke's was able to come over and get the seals on the door on Monday. So that is good, treated us very well. We had a lot of inquiries about the crosswalk by Mill Stream on Route 2. When they came through and did the mill project, they never replaced it. Well, it wasn't replaced because it's not compliant, but we escalated it to Senator Farron's office, and DOT's come back and said, just given its location, it's in a school zone, they are going to restripe it, and then it will be properly addressed next year, and the state's going to tack on to our sidewalk project. So they're fog sealing the shoulders likely in the next week or two. And so after they do that, then they'll restrike that crosswalk. So it's not perfect in terms of timing, but it's good to see some resolution coming from there. The volunteer program from the high school last year, we had the freshmen, sophomores that came to town and all over, and they did a lot. They're going to rerun that program again this year with juniors and seniors. And supposedly the date's going to be set in stone. One of the big things we got last year, it's too late. And so they're setting it in stone, rain or shine, April the 12th. So I've already reached back out to them and said, we're going to participate. Life is good there. Fire safety program, fire department's working on that for pre-K, K and 2 at the school. That should be a good thing there. We're hosting the kindergartners on their community field trip in 2 weeks. And Trunk or Treat is at Mill Stream on October 28th. If organizations, businesses, individuals are interested in participating, please get in touch with us and we'll get you in touch with the right person at the TTG at Mill Stream. And then a few community recognitions. Main Biz, which is a pretty significant magazine that goes out, recognize Sam Height, Norridgewock resident, for being 40 under 40. Those are your top business folks, community folks, folks under 40. So they pick 40 of the top under 40 people and they're recognized. So Sam Height received that recognition for what he does as a business person and involved in the community. Maine Biz also issued a giving guide recognizing charitable organizations throughout the state. Laura Pinio is still their board chair, gaining a lot of positive attention for Full Plates, Full Potential. And that's helping to get kids what they need for food. And then Lisa Lambert, also from Norridgewock, is there as board president of KBH, Kennebec Behavioral Health. So a lot of good things going on there. Those are featured folks that were in that publication. So also today we were at Maine Municipal Association, and this is the online folks won't be able to see it, but this is what Efficiency Maine is getting out. Full page feature on Norridgewock and the use of Efficiency Maine for our heat pumps and lighting upgrades and everything else. Let's see, it's a total of $45,173 that the towns came through efficiency incentives. So you know that's pretty good and good news for the town anyway. So Lancy, appreciate the Alex. Thanks for that.
No, thank you. Moving forward, discussion action on October 4th, general warrant number 18.
I move we approve bill warrant 18 in the amount of $49,946.05.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's everybody. Public comment.
I've got public comment, but I'm gonna save it for the, if I can, for the rec at the park and then the Walker Road.
Yeah.
Just got so much on it.
Yeah, no, I think with that, okay, thank you. Anything else, public comment?
I didn't, I was out of waste management today, I saw them pouring cement on the new, or we have the transfer station. And they really did a lot of work out there.
Huge area.
Okay. Right, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Someday, please.
No, never, never, never. Yeah.
Sunday one.
Just please.
He knows. Okay, discussion action on purchasing policy.
It's actually just discussion on purchasing
Yeah.
policy, because in planning for this, in the conversation we had the last meeting, there was a lot of talk about purchasing policy and bid practices and whatnot. And so we knew that it's something that the board would very likely want to recall and to put action on here, because we don't want to knee jerk to it either.
Yeah, feel that. I don't know if you guys had a chance to review this at all, read through it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find where, my one thing that I personally need clarification on, or maybe policy needs clarification on, is section 4D. Purchases expected to exceed 10,000 in total cost shall be subject to the use of the competitive bid, unless otherwise deemed to be in the best interest of the town as determined by the Board of Selectmen. How does that happen? Like, how does this board determine if that is the best interest of the town, knowing that we all may not always agree, like, there's different factors that come into that, like, how does that decision get made? It's, to me, it seems in the past, it's just kind of like come to us and we've just kind of approved the purchasing without sending something out to bid. I feel like there should possibly be like a more formal, like, hey, let's go about this way. So that like we get to that transparency piece while also acting in what the majority of the board believes is in the best interest of the town. That's my one. I feel like the policy is fine. I know there's been some discussion about like moving the 10,000 to a higher price point. So like maybe not have to go out to bid as frequently. I'm open to discussion about that, but really the part I care about is that as determined by the board. Like how does that happen in a very clear way that people feel comfortable?
You want to take that?
I mean, sure, it is,
Not best part.
so I mean, I just wrote down more formal options, last language question mark. It's been soft and loose.
Yeah.
It got really soft and loose with COVID when you had supply and demand problems. There are just certain things that there's a lack of competition. You see the fire department constantly, where, it's fleet continuity, you'll do very often, and that goes for their equipment as well. So when you need to replace SCBA bottles, if we just bought a whole new system, we're not gonna go up to bid for that, and it's gonna be substantial, so, I looked back after the last meeting and there was something that just said, if we do it, there wasn't any more formal stuff, but the consensus of the board at that time was if we bypass any of this. Purchasing policy, that there would be a note with the decision as to why it was, so that we could track back, so that you weren't able to say, well, we gave a contract to Kelsey. And it didn't go to bid. And so there would be an explanation if that was the direction. But there's never been really rhyme or reason. If it's something that's manageable, like your roadside mowing is pretty. But when you get to a building construction, it's like, okay, you've got, I started working on bid specs, bid out the structure, proposed structure, and actually wing, and I was up to 29 pages in 12, 13, 14 hours. And I don't have design plans, but you kind of need that, so. Something that I talked about after the last meeting was, do you go out and just have the pre-bid meeting with a handful of qualified contractors? Do you develop a preferred vendor list, which we talked about, but we never have? I think that's something that the board really needs to hammer out and look at the public to submit preferred vendors. So that when you do bypass for reason, we have vendors that are qualified to be go to. that are vetted, insured, that references on file. Things like that.
Mhm.
So, when we did list this on the agenda, there's no perfect solution, but I do think that, like I said, there needs to be clarity in the process.
So with the list of preferred vendors, I mean, with stuff that's gone out in the past, I mean, do the same people usually put in bids or is it scattered?
It's usually the same group of people. I want to say and I may be wrong, the last full-blown bid piece was Public Works. Was it, the expansion on Public Works? Was that?
Sewer building.
Right,
We did the
yep, sewer building was a full.
No one bid on it.
Yes,
Other than that,
Garage that was, 6,000-7,000.
yep,
other than that, road buildings, the other bids that you want,
right.
the big road projects.
Right,
We haven't had a big one that's been designed in a long time, so that didn't go out formal bid process.
Right.
We formally bid out one zero crossing.
Right.
That came back with one bid.
So we bid out Burl Hill last year.
But it wasn't a
designed.
formalized bid process.
it's just several different contractors, right?
With this design, like the Deer Road design.
Right.
Yeah, I got.
So I guess, because my question is if we're putting some of these things out and nobody's ever getting back, we're not getting the bids. We're kind of hamstringing ourselves a little bit. I mean, I get the part of having to put it out and stuff, but if we're not getting, is that slowing us down, holding us back because we do go through that big process only to find out at the end where back where we could have been in the beginning.
I think with that, we just.
I'm just asking so that we can.
Right, because you're the one that ends up putting it all together and doing the research and whatnot to do it, because we don't have someone that puts together our bids, nor do I want to hire someone to do that. Like the fire department, they sought out 2 or 3 vendors for their last grant stuff, if my memory serves me correctly. But they had at least 2 different options.
Right, but it wasn't a formal bid. process.
Wasn't a formal bid
Anything sales or anything
Right.
like that. Not to take away from that process either, because that's what a lot of the things that
Right.
you're talking 200,000. And I think it was a little less painful to the process because we're responsible for 5%.
Yeah, I think some like formal clarity of how that decision gets made by the board. I'm really big on like policies and even written in with like some flexibility, but a formal way of exercising that flexibility so that we can be like smooth and crisp and everyone's voice gets heard, but there's some direction. We're gonna talk about this later, but I feel like it was kind of convoluted at our last meeting and a lot of people left that meeting with different understandings of like what the next steps were in the project. And I feel like formalizing hey, how are we gonna go about exercising our purchasing policy would be beneficial. So as to prevent that amongst the board and amongst the community. So I would be in favor of putting into like, if we're not, that there's a vote, if we are putting something out to bid or not.
Right. Which I'm not really against that at all. Go ahead, Phil.
So something I had thought of before, not in time to help you.
Thank
For me, sitting in that situation, would be very valuable to know in today's market, what the average square foot cost of building a non-residential structure would be. So you could look at that in today's dollar and say, okay, this building is so many square feet. In theory, these bids should come in around this mark, and then when you get people that are really beefing up their bid because it's a municipal bid, and we have money and all that stuff, you can kind of look at those and say, okay, we're way overpaying for this project. Maybe we need to take a step back. So just an average cost, whether it's building material, construction per square foot, yards, gravel, and we do that on pavement. When you buy a pavement, we know what the going rate is for pavement, but that whole building piece, like the sewer garage that came back at 500 something.
Yeah.
That's $100,000 building, but nobody bid on it. We had the money and I don't even know who bid on it, but just so we can gauge, okay, this is a good deal, this is an okay deal, this is not.
Right, and I think our proposed town garage was, the sewer garage was smaller than what we were attempting to build up there. So,
And it came in at 500.
yeah, it came in at 5 something. Right, and it was small, right. No, that's valid, Jim. It is hard to quantify that currently, with the way work is, everybody's busy, everybody's paying top dollar, like you said, when you see the municipal thing, like, hey, a little more. And I think we found that just in some of our pricing initially, and I think we still have a few more people to talk to tentatively, yeah, to try to get that down into a feasible amount so that we're not paying some astronomical amount for a building that really shouldn't cost that much.
I mean, Hammond can give you a cost on a 1,000 square foot building.
Right.
Ballpark cost within 10 grand. You know, and you double that for labor, or whatever your labor rates are, and if it's triple that or quadruple that.
What I'm currently seeing is about triple.
Yeah, okay.
materials is-
So I mean, that's a good gauge though in today's market, so.
Yeah.
This has been educational. I gotta be readjust.
Yeah. No, valid, yeah, really, I appreciate it, for sure.
Oh, here it is.
Anyway, going back to Kelsey's piece, I don't know, that just really comes down to language, that it's a unanimous vote of the
I don't
board.
think it has to be unanimous.
No, I don't think so, the majority, I like, both of works there. Which it was really what we've done anyway, I don't think we've ever skated without the whole board kind of voting and deciding on it. But maybe just some language for clarification.
Well,
I think the board has approved things, you know what I mean? But I think a formal recognition of we are exercising this right to not go out to bid because as a majority, we believe it's best interest is important. Because otherwise, I think we get into like the
Okay,
loose
that's
bid, whatever, like you say, and just to like formalize that decision making, so we all are in an understanding of like really firmly why we're making that call and that we are making that call.
And we make that part of the meeting where we discuss that before the vote is taken and that's notated.
I think,
You know what I mean?
I think as soon as we know, like. A purchase is coming up, that way we don't like send you out to do something, like to put bid specs together, we're like, oh, actually, Richard, we don't wanna do that, you know what I mean, to make the best use of our time, as soon as we know. We're gonna be making a large purchase, 10K or more, if we decide to keep the 10K. We say, hey, you know, what information do we wanna have to make an informed decision about this, and let's make that decision and then move forward. And I feel like there was discussion at our last meeting, but it wasn't formal enough for me to feel kosher about it, and it was messy, and I think we're gonna waste airtime talking about it and just create unnecessary stress and drama in the community.
Yeah, for sure, I agree.
I know we're not making any decisions, but that's my input, and I'm fine with the 10K, but I know there was discussion of maybe increasing the 10K, but I'm not feeling strongly about that.
I don't see a need to increase the dollar myself. Stick, Richard, on the language piece for that.
So I'm going to include language of a majority vote
Mhm.
required in the explanation.
Yeah,
Is
and then,
required in the decision.
yeah, and a majority vote, not for the purchase itself, but like saying, yes, we're gonna not go like separate from the decision to purchase. like,
And this is the
vote, like,
reasons why we're not.
yes, we are gonna exercise our right to not go out to bid, and here's why. And then, yes, we approve this purchase.
See?
Okay, good.
Nicely done. Do you have anything else on that? Molly?
No, I think that's good.
Sums up for me, Richard, I don't know if you had anything you want to add under that.
I will make that addition and then I'll make. Some other minor tweaks, just for that stuff. And look at that, for review to your committee.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's, so thank you both. It was very good. Right, discussion action on trail maintenance building, reconsideration. Right, that kind of falls right into that whole piece again. With Richard working on the bid specs, really just wanted to keep it in front of the board. Really would like to just see 2 or 3 more contractors go out there and give us a number without this whole bid process, because like he's saying. He doesn't have it done, he's got too much time in it already, go ahead.
Sorry, 2 separate items. Is Kelsey submitted the agenda item to reconsider the building? Are you looking to reconsider the building location? Or are you just looking to reconsider the purchase process?
I don't love the word reconsider.
Okay.
But it's
I'd
right.
be like, revisit or like clarify. My intention was to like I've heard some things from the community of mixed things of frustration of how this is going. And as I said, I felt even a little like confused of where we left things at our last meeting, so I wanted to clarify. So I have just a few bullets. One, I want to say I do not ATV or snowmobile or do anything on the trail besides maybe walk my dogs, and I mostly use Wilder Hill for that. But I personally, and I think this board is very appreciative of all of the work that the Sportsman Association does to maintain those trails for free, all of the hours that they put into that. And I think even though that's not something I take advantage of or have an interest in, I do see its value. So I just want to make sure that that is known and heard, that work and commitment to our town is appreciated. I also just wanted to point out that, like, so my timeline of how I've seen this so far, which is why I was feeling kind of frustrated, was this proposal was brought to TIF approved it, it was brought to the board approved it unanimously. It was brought back to the board to take down some trees, which was approved. And that's where I thought we were. So when I hear people are frustrated with the board's like support of the project, I'm confused because I feel like we've been very supportive, and I feel like at large, the sense I'm getting is that we are supportive of this. At our last meeting, I felt like there was some healthy discussion of how we're going to be using our purchasing policy. There was some recommendations of maybe not sending things out to bid because it's in the best interest of the town and the project. Some strong considerations of sending things out to bid so that we're being transparent and following our policy. And I felt like that was all healthy, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel like any decision was made. But it feels like some people felt either that we had already decided to go with certain contractors, or that we had decided everything's going out to bid and it's not going to happen until next year. So I just wanted to clarify that I don't feel like that's where we are, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm hoping now that we reviewed our policy that our next step is, hopefully my request is that we get maybe some specs and some, because I know that's still kind of wishy-washy, but at least some more ideas. I know it's just 30 by 50 metal building, but it sounds like there's been some flexibility with that. So kind of like what we're actually looking at building as best we can, maybe some average cost, what we know already. I know you've been doing your due diligence of like kind of talking with some contractors about what this would look like, what the costs might be that we're looking at, some options. So like presenting all of that to us. So like just kind of what we know so far, and then doing our formal vote, like, okay, based on what we know, let's send it out to bid, or, you know, let's not send this part out to bid, or vice versa type of thing. That's what I would like to see happen. But yeah, I think clarification is a better word. I wanted to say, I think this board supports the project. I think last meeting made things more convoluted than they needed to be. And I'm looking forward to it coming back with more information for us to make a more formal decision.
Nice.
And that's all.
Yeah, I think that's pretty on point. And I can't speak for anybody that's not here. But I think for the most part, that the board has been pretty unanimous about the building, process we were using up to that point. And then, like you said, there was some healthy discussion. We brought up some valid points. Right, that kind of caused us to reconsider and maybe look at our process of how we do it. Which did prompt Richard, due to the need for speed, if you will, to start putting together bid specs, so that he would be ready for whichever way we landed. Because as you can see, I don't know, as he's giving me his hours, I can't remember, there's quite a few hours into this already and it's not done. Right, and they're very binding once they're done. Once you put together a bid spec, people are fitting exactly that. Can't really offer up changes without significant extra pages to explain those. Yeah, I don't know, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the bid spec that we issued for a 30 by 30 building at the sewer plant was over 200 pages. And so now we're trying to build a 30 by 50, and arguably we would want the same structure, you know, with an extra door in it. And so, I mean, that's kind of ongoing, trying to pull out those things. We weren't looking for necessarily the deep footing, we were looking for a slab and those kind of things. But it's, if we're gonna move on buildings and bidding them, then we really need to be ready to pay the 20% engineering fees to get that designed and done so that everything's equitable. If we're gonna do a pre-bid meeting, then that works. I think On a straight face, and then you've got, Public Works has gotten there, keeping an eye on the process, but. It's really difficult because there are times when a bid benefits you, and there are times when a bid drives the cost, and it's unfortunate, but. When we publish the amount of money that we have to buy a fire truck or a public works truck or a tip expense on a building, you often find that proposers start with that number and back out of that number. So that's the frustration, but whether you bid it formally or not, you're still gonna run into those tenants. It's just not great.
You have to make those numbers public.
Pardon?
Why, you have to make
I
those
feel like
numbers.
he means in the
public?
past.
Well, because we're gonna go to town meeting and say we want $500,000 per person fire truck.
But okay, yeah.
And that fire truck's gonna be 518,900, and then it's gonna be 1,250 dollars.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay, I just, yeah, got it. I'm just thinking.
we've got $135,000 approved for this project. So what maybe folks don't know is that that is gonna be underground utility that we'd like, because we don't want overground utility in that space. We still need lights.
It's not just a building, you got-
Surveillance.
Yes, yes, I see what you're saying.
So there's a lot of the unknowns, and then that's when we get cost overruns, when we let us cost over.
Jim, fire away.
So has the board decided, made a decision to build a building?
Well, I mean, technically we did, yeah.
Okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
it saves half my spiel, so I can save a lot of time.
No, but we have.
Do we know, because I noticed that TIF somewhere was gonna donate, or what was the TIF issue, 100,000, or was there a dollar amount that TIF was gonna put towards this project?
Yeah, 137.5, yeah.
So my concerns, I don't disagree with the building, it's already done. My concerns originally were, we just got a building donated to us at a school park, and within a week, it was broken into and trashed. You're gonna put a building out of town quite a considerable distance. And to me, although time isn't always our friend, because bid prices move around. My thought was, we've got a facility out there, we've got 150 in it probably now, even though it's not all tax dollars, there's some grant money there, but it's tax dollars, no matter how you grants or taxes. We haven't used it yet. And to rush to put a building in deadline, if you're looking at this fall, I'd love to see the thing being used a little bit and make sure we have a car parking out there before we put this building in. And my thought was, the fire department needs a garage, the sewer department needs a garage, I'm sure the town garage is gonna be out of space soon. Is there a central location that we can build a building that would meet the needs instead of 150 out here? Fire department needs a new garage, wastewater treatment needs a new garage. We're building 3 or 4 structures that we're gonna have to maintain. You know, if you put something on the town garage property of this room, you know, you've got just as quick an access north and south to the ATV trail right here in town, somebody to look at it, it's gated up there. Just so concerned about spending a lot more money out there until we see who's gonna be using that property. And it may go great, and next spring might be, yeah, let's build a building. It may cost us more, we've seen that before too,
Yeah, no, for sure.
but anyway, just,
So currently it is being used.
Yeah.
So several clubs right now.
okay,
Because you.
up to
it
the
is-
bridge, or is it?
No, so there is ATV trail,
Okay.
but it's mostly Fairfields, so, because you can utilize our roads, you can go out and catch Bear Mountain.
Yeah.
So you can, I think it's actually the Bear Mountain Road.
Is they're actually working on,
Yes.
I just delivered some stone out there so they can fix the 1, 2.
Mhm. And this is supposed to open up shortage.
Exactly.
This arch actually.
I talked to Ryan the other day, so it's.
Yes, in this piece was our lights and cameras.
Yeah.
So this
Okay.
building was supposed to house the lights and cameras.
Some security out there.
Right, so cameras for the whole parking lot,
Yeah.
our building,
Okay.
unfortunately for us with the stuff at the park.
Yeah.
Our building beat our cameras by 3 weeks.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah, right, so we did kind of want to all go at the same time.
Yeah.
And on the piece for a building that would do everything.
Yeah.
It does actually sound nice and makes sense, but the problem would be the size of the building.
Sure.
As you increase in size, the cost goes up exponentially. And as far as for property, the town garage, we don't have an area large enough to construct a
Yeah.
50 by 100
Right.
building.
Right.
As to where you have, you know, the fire department looking for a 24 by 36 and a 30 by 50 over there.
Okay.
And a 30 by 30 over there and a 30 by 50 over there. So if you put them all together, the size of the building is just
Right.
massive. I know, like, the fire department wants their stuff right there, the sewer department wants their stuff right there. And this being out there opens it up to, because I think a lot of people lose sight of the trees that are out there, right? The actual park.
Right.
So that's fallen by the wayside for the last 40 years, roughly.
Yeah.
Nobody's done nothing, right? I mean, it's basically a place to go have sex and do drugs.
Sure.
Because that's really all it's been since the school essentially stopped going. So by putting our building out there, it opens it up for all that other funding, which is allowing Mrs. Manlett to put together all the placards and the stuff to really utilize that, because like it's such a, I want to say a key piece of our community. It's a really unique piece of our community that so many others.
There's a lot of
don't get to.
history there.
There really is, but it's fallen by the wayside as everything does, right? So without some way to bring it back to the forefront, and without really taking your tax dollars, which, well, no one's gonna support it.
Sure.
Of us just spending money out there, by able to use the TIP funds that we need to spend anyway, it really was killing two birds with one stone. I
So
think that's how-
restrooms in here or a separate restroom?
So if you see our vegetable stand, I only say that because that's what the gentleman who stole stuff called it. The green building is actually for 3 porta johns.
Okay.
So that way.
Shelter that they can go. into.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes, a gentleman stole a bunch of steel and called it a vegetable stand or food stand.
Okay.
It is housing for a couple of porta johns, which now we will have to get approved,
Right.
so that they can stay there more than 7 days.
So 30 by 50, what are we, is this the snowmobile clubs or the ATV club equipment that's gonna?
Yes, essentially, yeah, so the club has bought a new groomer, which is just for the rail piece.
Yeah.
It's too big to go on our trail system until we get the rest of it cut,
Okay.
which may happen this season, I doubt.
And that was the reason why they really wanted it there, because
Right, the machine is 9.5 feet wide and almost 36 feet long,
Gotcha.
just the two pieces, right?
Is
So-
there, I know we've approved this already, is there still some flexibility and additional things we could use that space for? For instance, like I know right now, don't we rent a space for the water district? Like, is that an option to build an office there for that?
then,
Yeah, no, really, no, right here, private.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, no,
that's right, I
Um,
forgot they're not part of our.
right, so, right, and there is a chance that it still hasn't been finalized who's laying the calcium, which is just for summer. If it works out to be that the town is doing it, the town may have something in there on top of it. I know the club has the intent, we haven't had any ATV trails, so there's some debate as to whether the club will need a tractor so that we can do the rock breaking and any light grading. So if the club buys a tractor, the tractor would stay there. And I'm not a fan. I don't think anybody is of leaving expensive equipment outside because it quickly ruins and gets vandalized.
So you just burned up your 30 by 50, that's gone now.
It is, and inside that 30 by 50, we still have to carve out a piece for the town to house its, because the club wouldn't have access to it, if you will. The security room, I guess that's what you want to call it, which will house the internet connection, the camera base, so that way, once it's recorded, it shoots to that, or goes on the cloud. Richard can watch it from home, and when you vandalize our stuff, we get nice 4K pictures of it, day or night. So it kind of brought everything together and worked, just because it is such a unique piece of town, it's been overlooked for so long, that this kind of brought it all together. It kind of hit a
I
snag,
hope
but,
people use it. I said, I hope people use it.
so the intent right now, I mean, the Bingham Club is coming down and riding out of here. And that was just the first start, and that was only for riding. Thus far,
yeah,
yes,
when you hear people that have ATVs and stuff, it's all excitement. And you got this big parking lot, I think that it's got potential to grow, that's what
it does,
think.
and it seems as though, and I can't speak for other towns, that everybody after us is not as, there's no support, so, there we go, there we go, I'll let him say it, right, so that's bonus for us, right, it makes us the first point to get off the interstate, come here, and then you're wherever you want to be. So it really, it sounds, nice. It's just really whether it all can come together or not.
I'm with you with the security, and down there, it's a question anyways, and that's.
It is, well, that's so it's for the example, so the club went and, right, everybody had a tractor out there. Rock rake pulled all the ties out, the plates and stakes and. Scrap metal, so there was a pile next to that porta john, and it was not there for 2 days. And somebody scooped it up and tried to return it. And they had the audacity to come back and try to get a letter from Richard saying it was okay, because you can't return that stuff anywhere. Just so everybody knows, you can't return that stuff.
Stuff they won't take.
Yeah, any scrapyard will flag you and then you can't. So they came and asked for a letter from the town saying it was okay. And they had made up a story of, they stopped at the vegetable stand.
Yeah.
And they said it was fine. Richard through the deduction realized what it was, and it was returned. And the sheriff's played a part in that as well. But it does, just drive home that need for cameras. It keeps everybody honest, if you will.
I did not understand what you were saying earlier when you were saying vegetables. Weird name.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No, yeah, I appreciate it.
I don't want to dump any more on, but I'm going to real quick, and that is that. The building is the least of my concerns down there. I don't want people that are coming as guests to our town to park $100,000 trucks, trailers and everything there. And be subject to catalytic converters or keys or. And so, whether it's through solar cellular camera devices, which are Uber bucks. Or even like we've got this little park which doesn't really serve a purpose other than just housing that, sure, that's about it. We've got to do something if we're gonna try to.
Lighting, gonna run electricity across the street at some point.
The goal is to do that underground.
Okay.
Because we don't want to interrupt the trees all around here. We want to add more trees.
Sure.
And you don't want to, you want four corners lit. So if someone's gonna play, hopefully angle that someone would be great, they cut off.
Parking lot and building or.
Correct.
That looks, yeah, good, all right,
But all underground, just to minimize the impact on the space.
Yeah. okay. Perfect,
Costs.
let's see.
Right, it's just how you can get it all in that dollar cost, because we're not looking to build a $300,000 building.
You just want to shout.
Yes, we will need a shell to keep everything dry and secure, if you will. Yeah. The big concern right now is plugging stuff in for these diesels for cold starts, right? We're gonna go out at 2 in the morning, you really want it to start. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of where that is.
So the lighting and basically the lighting and the security system is all hinging on the building.
Well, I mean,
Because we've been talking about that since we built, since parking lot has been built, that was a goal to have that lit when it opens, so, but this is now tied into the building.
essentially, yes, because without the big building in the back, you have to construct a smaller building just to house the utility that you need.
Okay.
Right,
Okay,
so
yep, no, I just wanted to make
it's
sure.
directly tied to
Because
it.
he's always been on Richard's goal was to get it lit and secure for the people parking there.
Lights and cameras keep everybody.
It's an additional vegetable stand with no access to the public.
I think. That was a lot. It was very creative, I will, say, but nonetheless. Chief,
Label it that.
chief, almost.
Okay, so I want to infer, but I'm gonna say items 9 and 10 being trail maintenance building. Clarification in trail maintenance building request for proposals, the board will take no action on, and I have the directive to gather up estimated costs, specs, et cetera, and bring it back to the board at the next meeting.
And then what do we need to do to change our? Can I request that we vote on that, even though it's not part of our proposal? Or do we, or part of our policy, or do we have to change our policy
I'm gonna
before
change
you
the
can vote
policy,
on
but
it?
it's gonna break
Okay,
it.
beautiful.
And if any of the board has any changes, then get those to me, and we'll redline them.
That way we'll actually be a full board when we do decide on all these pieces, which will be. So anything else on that? Okay, so we'll pick that up at our next meeting. So right, we'll jump down to number 11, discussion action on Walker Road crack remediation.
Okay, so as we know, there is longitudinal cracking of the section of the walk. They have come in, drawn samples from the road, they've gone back, they pulled all our material slips on site for temperature and whatnot. Everything's coming back normal. They've been out here 4 or 5 times, they've met with me twice. This last week, they came back and met with me again. And what their, there's no fault can really be placed anywhere as far as we can tell. Something just isn't working. So the guy from Pike can come out and time again, looked at it, and they're recommending that we would crack seal this road in the fall. Come back and crack seal the road again in the spring. So if there's anything that opens up or anything that fails, that they could grab that again and then put a 1/2 inch overlay shim on the entire length of it to cover, keep the water going. That's their recommendation. With that, they've said that they will cover the entire cost of all of that crack seal, both fall and spring, and they will only charge us $77.40 for the per ton material for the project. So that holds us at $61,920. If there's any escalation in that price, they will absorb that. I thought that that was decent and reasonable of them. To me, it's in the middle, knowing that we've time and time again gone back to them as a reputable contractor, and they want to meet. So.
When you get through.
No, Jim, fire away.
So this is my problem, with the Walker Road, which I wasn't a fan of doing in the first place, but Michael talks in it. So, so we originally bid that, just a little bit of history, we originally bid that in 2021. It was 300 and change.
Not even.
Yeah.
Okay, under 300,
Yeah.
so I dragged my heels on it, we went a year forward, we decided to do it, the bid went to 400 and change. 395. Which kind of floored me and other selectmen at the time. So they've taken their core samples, there's nothing wrong with the foundation of the road, it was sold to us, Michael did a great job with that, it's pavement ready. We built the road to be paved, we put extra shim on it, spent money in the years that we didn't pave it, so the road is ready to pave. So the contractor comes in, they do the paving. 3 months later, 4 months later, pretty substantial cracks in that road. If there's nothing wrong with the preparation of the road, and we spent 400 plus to pave the road. If you're a business person, my other two aren't here, so I don't know what you do, I know what you do. You know, you warranty your work. If you did work to somebody's house and the product failed, you're on the hook for that. And I appreciate they're a great vendor. I don't even know the vendor. I appreciate that we have good standing history with the vendor. I appreciate the fact that they're willing to come back in and crack seal it. But when you're talking another $60,000 to fix an issue because their product failed and they don't know why it failed. It's a lot of money, $60,000 on top of the 400 plus that we've already spent on that road for pavement, not for building it, just the pavement. So you got a $500,000 road. Or close to it.
Yeah.
$500,000 road.
This.
And I just don't want to fall into this and I was involved in a lot of these other decisions. We've got a fire department that's fallen apart. We had a contractor that built that. We've got no recourse because we can't afford the attorney to fight him in court. Or where that might go. We've got the Ward Hill, $500,000 on the hill that we spent. If you drive up there today, the water runs down the middle of the road. In 2 or 3 years from now, Michael's gonna be back in here telling you,
Yes.
we gotta fix that road. And there were some engineering issues, this and that, and it's so frustrating for me as a taxpayer. And someone who lives on Ward Hill and owns property on the Walker Road, that we're throwing these large amounts of money at these projects.
We're trying to fix.
And we're trying to fix them, we're throwing these large amounts of money at these projects, and when something goes sideways. It's an engineer that doesn't take responsibility, it's a company, a vendor. Well, we don't know what happened, so we're gonna do you a favor. Well, it's $60,000 favor. That's a new truck for the fire department to run around town with, that's a new truck for. It's a lot of money, $60,000.
Yeah.
Crack seal it, see what happens to it, if you wanna crack seal it, but to spend another $60,000 on that road that we've already overspent for, it really fries me.
I feel you. Jim, I agree.
Enough said, but do with it what you will. I wish the full board was here, because I am not happy about that.
Yeah, so that's all kind of ties together, right? You pay all this money for engineering and services, and what does it all amount to?
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's what we're complaining about. On the
No,
road committee, that's what we complain about.
Yeah.
We don't feel like, on the road committee, we've been talking about this for years now, is that was an engineered road, that was an engineered project, that was.
$50,000 worth of
Yes.
engineering.
And like you said, in the end, nobody's held responsible for that.
Exactly.
And I understand what you're saying, because that it's, if I make a mistake, you gotta own it.
Right. So you know this. You haven't heard this yet. You have now. It's very frustrating for taxpayers to throw good money on top of exorbitant money. And then we have nothing, and we have to spend more money to fix the fire department, to fix another road, to fix it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not putting blame on anyone, but this is I'm
Stop.
assuming a pretty good sized company that did this project. And, thanks for trying to help us out, but, it's your product.
Yeah.
Core sample show it wasn't our road. And it's got some pretty good sized cracks in it. It's brand new.
Yeah.
What's it gonna look like in a year from now?
And
Oh, yeah.
It's a 20-year road. Anyway.
No, all valid. I think in our previous things, in looking at stuff, we determined that the legal costs and what you were gonna get back, even if you won these battles,
Oh,
didn't warrant
Forget it.
action.
doesn't.
Not all cases, but
Yep.
for the majority of them, that's really where it's falling. Ward Hill and the no hydrology study. Am I supposed to know that we have to do a hydrology study?
Not your job. Right.
No, so it's tough, right? You rely on the people that give you the information and say that they're certified to do it. It does seem like in this day and age that the larger you are, the less you have to stand behind your work. And I'm not saying anything against Mike. I have no idea. I know nothing about road building.
We don't know the vendor.
That's right. But I feel your pain, and it ends because I don't really know what we can do about it, even with this particular circumstance. It seems like in what they're offering to do. It's a very nice gesture, because, well, you know, as well as I do what crack sealing costs. I bet it's probably $11,000 to $12,000 worth of crack sealing.
Right. Why did it crack? Why did it crack?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's right.
Richard
That's.
wants to say something.
No,
I guess the frustrating thing for me is that it's a big town, we're very well to do, fortunately, we've got a
Yes.
good income stream. And I think we get taken advantage for that.
Yeah.
It's a check for 60 or a check here, that's a lot of money, that's a ton of money.
It is,
Maybe not on a municipal scale, but
even for us, I mean,
it's a lot of money.
$500,000 on 2 miles of road is insane. But it was deemed relative, we had to do it, right? We did it, and we're.
our original goal was, when we built it to begin with, the original plan for the road committee was to
Yes.
construct a road to be paved, because Joe, we discussed it with the highway department as to the cost of maintaining a dirt road as compared to a hot top road. So we had the best of intentions, even though it's a lot of money. And I agree with what you said. I mean, you were part of that decision to make a big investment in that road, and it hasn't held up. And you certainly have
And neither has, Ward Hill is even worse, to be honest, that bothers me more.
Yeah.
we didn't have good luck with Burl Hill. There was 3 fellows up there that had to be replaced. And that was an engineering problem.
Right.
And I think it wasn't done right. It was deeper than just engineering, but we don't have anybody saying, listen, we got some bumps up there that just, you got a brand new road, it's not riding very good.
I think we had even talked about hiring an engineer, that we have our own town engineer, but we didn't like that price tag, but if you tally up these small.
We lost us 3.
It doesn't even mean small.
We lost our free engineer. He was
We
very
did,
good at
yeah,
giving us
yeah.
some very good advice.
Richard.
I've been boiling over here because they don't know how to say it.
Right.
Pretty widely known I don't have to be a bull. And I would not have brought this to the board if I didn't think that it was reasonable. I think that what they have offered is fair. what they have said is they don't see an issue with the workmanship.
Okay.
What I cannot say confidently is that the town does not hold some sort of responsibility for the conditions of that road. And that may or may not be in the form of interfering with the contractor in earthwork prep, in paving application. And so that's why I'm willing to meet them in the middle, and it's expensive to state.
Can you say that again, in a way that I might understand?
I follow that a little bit, but
So, right, so there's earthwork prep, you build your road up, you get your crown, you put down, and there may or may not have been interference
Okay.
interference how?
from not a representative of our contractor in going in and messing with that earthwork.
Okay.
May or may not have, not launching an investigation, I just understand that I can't say that my hands, the town's hands. In terms of not interfering with the contractor doing their work. It's my belief that somebody went in and messed with the earthwork / surface. After it was prepped, but before asphalt's applied. And so to me, this is a meet you in the middle, and it was a costly mistake. If that's how it happened. I hope I didn't get, if I didn't get myself, I hope I'm up.
So I mean, if the contractor is taking core samples in those areas that are deficient, and they found no, I think you said, they found no issues with the base. They found no issues with their product. They don't know why it failed. Why is that a compromise for us to spend $60,000 on a project where the person who applied the product doesn't know why it failed? That's what bothers me. And there may be more to this, and you guys can talk about it. But as you know,
I think the only thing he said was it was material, they tested the material.
Yep.
He's saying there may be an issue beyond what a core sample can tell you. But
I don't know what a core sample can tell you. I have no
the
idea.
core sample can tell you what the material that you use.
Yep.
Met all specs. That
Whether
they-
it's compacted properly,
Yes.
whether it met the spec,
Yes,
whether.
that, they can tell, or I use the right gravel and the right spec, and then, but they can't tell you that it was placed right. Or something other than that, I don't think you can get that from a core sample, unless you could get a
I'll look
compact.
at the map, but I'm lost.
Yeah,
I don't know, and maybe you can continue the conversation, but if they take a core sample and they can tell the material underneath the pavement is the proper material, and it's compacted properly. How can it not be applied properly to put pavement on it? That's what's confusing to me.
Can we table?
Yeah, I'm done, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't want to take any more of your time, but
it's a tough one.
Oh,
It was first
I-
for me,
I appreciate
Yeah.
Richard and the work that he put into this to try to fix that.
yes, yes, I think, given the circumstances, like what Richard has said, this is probably, I can't say it's meeting us halfway, you know what I mean, if you look at the cost of crack seedling and then the cost, you know, you're 12,000 versus 61. But again, what are your other actions of recourse? You know, do you try to hold these people to the fire and then they're done bidding our work after this? I want to say Pike does 85% of our paving. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know anything about roads, so help me, but so the road cracked for whatever reason, it appears to be a reason possibly with the earthwork, like the preparatory work, like maybe deeper than a core sample, whatever that all means. If we seal this, isn't it just gonna crack again? And this is like a gift
It
to
gets, it
61,000?
gets worse, if you don't seal, here's the issue, is that those cracks are that bad right now. And the water, so when you have salt on the roads and it melts the water goes down into those cracks and then it refreezes overnight, stuff like that, it just explodes it, so. We do have to do something with the crack sealing this year to. If you don't, it's gonna be
So is
far worse
is
comes
this like
spring.
a Band-Aid and then at some point we have to like dig up that whole road again?
I won't deny what you say about being, but this does have to be done.
Oh,
Something has to be done, that's the first step, but further than that, I understand what everybody's heartburn is, so I'm gonna stay on that, but we do have.
It is, I mean.
So crack seal, let's look at it in the spring.
That's essentially what they're saying, and we're just locking in a price.
Right.
Because you remember prices at all, so 77.40 beats the hell out of 98 or 108. And if we go into next year and asphalt lands at 108 per ton instead of 77, well, that's a pretty significant uptick right there.
So that's where we are right now, that's the cost. We're only paying the cost of the product.
Right,
We're not paying for, deployment and application.
right, so it doesn't behoove us to, and that's my big word today, to lock in that price at the 77.40. So that we don't risk a chance of seeing higher numbers next year. Because if we drag our feet, and historically, every time we drag our feet on pulling the trigger, something has doubled or substantially more. So it's tough, but again, I get everybody's talking over $61,000. You know what I mean? That's more than I mean this year.
My two things, just so I get them on the record. One, I would like to see what their actual costs, what their portion of the whole project is. If I was at 61 and theirs is 15, I don't think that's a great deal. I'm sure it's more than 15, but it would be nice to just see theirs. And two, is there any guarantee that they're giving us with this, or it's just, here it is, and after this, you're on your own again, so it cracks again because the half inch doesn't work, and
Can't speak for them, but I'm willing to bet that's exactly the way it is. That they do this and there's no warranty now, why would there be one after?
Do you know the cost that they're, like, what part of this project that they're putting?
No, because we have to go out and measure cracks and whatnot, and then we don't know what's gonna be cracked. Or crack new. Come spring,
So how do
and
they know?
I don't know exactly what the cost of their laydown is, but that appears to be from what we paid this last year. They're probably paying 20 and we're paying 77 on the actual asphalt. We're paying the cost and they're paying the laydown.
and is that to do that whole section?
It's
Of the whole, again, the whole,
Thing, yeah, which is quite a bit. I mean, our original.
11,000 feet.
Down originally, was it 2 inches that went down originally, or just half?
More than shadows, could have got laid.
Did they do more?
Yes, they did final edit. Because Gary was instrumental on that decision because he was adamant about. We haven't been going back and doing our overlay. And if you don't do it, that he was of the mind that you do both.
Right.
Period. And so that's.
So both went down on it.
Yes, both went down on that. That's why we did both on Brill Hill as well. We did both on Brill Hill as well. He was adamant about that. And we have been historically terrible because we don't have the funds in which to readdress this. And we go 10 years on a road that was never supposed to not be overlaid. So that didn't get to it.
Although that doesn't even feel any better.
No.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And that may be a decent deal, they gotta do the whole road for that price, sure. But just in the back of your mind, as a board, we've been through this over and over and over again. We have a contractor do a project for us and it falls apart, oh, nothing we can do, and it sucks. Why, why?
I know, which led us back to like
Frustrating.
to
Yeah.
work around engineering or find a in-house engineer that
But
does.
the engineering hasn't been always in our favor as well.
No,
We've come up short even with the engineering costs.
Right.
There's still nobody to say,
Fire department.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
So I'm just-
Looked at that and it came back to nothing.
yeah. So I'd like to say that the engineering would be to solve the problem on the buildings and on that. But we spent a lot of money on engineering and we have no better person to look at and say, why?
When it goes, you can finish your meeting.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
I'll be back next week.
It's always good to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
It's very good, conversation.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
So it's tough, I mean, with that, do we move on, do we, the entire board for discussion, but
In the end, do you want a table, and I'll go back and ask them if they would be willing to allow us to wait to sign this contract this spring and still hold the price. So we're not forced into.
What does that do to the road, though?
Well,
Leaving it
on Mike's
closer?
part is we've got to get it
Yeah,
But they
See,
would.
they're gonna crack seal it no matter what.
Well, we have the crack seal in the fall and crack seal in the spring, then see where we are. I don't want to sign if.
Right, no, I agree. I
So we'll
definitely,
just let it revisit this in the spring. As opposed to just signing off on it tonight. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Or
no,
meetings.
I'm confused.
So if they basically.
If they just say roll crack seal as in May,
Right,
just the same as we will today.
because it's no different when we tell them today, we're just locking it in and.
Right.
But
Although-
we're still.
they're expending work without the guarantee that we go with them after the fact.
We have to crack seal it.
Yes,
Right, and they,
before winter.
yes,
correct, but they would do that.
yes.
That's not anything to do with the 61.
Well,
Yeah.
it was, but Richard has to revisit them and ask them
So
if they
they-
would be willing,
To
to
crack
crack
seal
seal
it for,
nothing,
okay,
and then.
Come back in the spring and crack
Okay.
seal, or come back in the spring and evaluate what the situation looks like. As opposed to us signing, if maybe the crack seal doesn't work.
okay.
This is what they're saying for this.
I like that idea.
Which actually shows quite a bit of good faith on their part, if
If
they
they
would be
agree.
willing to do that for us, that is certainly a gesture, which I know I would greatly appreciate, so that we didn't have to walk into this.
Cool.
So is that, do we want a motion
I
on
make a
that?
motion that we table this so that Richard can find out our options.
Nice,
Second.
motion a second, any further discussion? It left, so seeing none, all those in favor, that's everybody. I like that, maybe this good. No, it's fine, it's fine, that's what we do. Wow, at least they're gone, discussion action on downtown traffic ordinance.
Okay, so I'm gonna just breeze over this, I guess. We have a lot of different things going on in the downtown, as you know. We're gonna be doing sidewalk reconstruction. We've got businesses that are starting and building. We've got hopefully another new business coming to town that we'll find out about in another few weeks. We've got ATVs and things like that we're gonna start seeing in our community. And we've got to understand the parking, traffic implications and the safety implications of, you know, I want to get on this side of the street, so I'm driving westbound on Route 2 and I'm just gonna cut across and park going against traffic. Right now, it's up to law enforcement folks to ticket that or whatnot, and that just doesn't happen. But it's really, really dangerous there. You're coming out of a dangerous intersection and you got people going like that on Route 2. We've got folks that I think we need to think about, do you want to formalize our parking of the 2 hours, no overnight? Do we want to formalize the parking ban for towing? We have the ability to tow right now, but that needs to be revised either way. And do you want to look at penalties after first offense or something like that? To say, you know what, we're not just gonna be wasting our time here, where Richard has to get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, because Public Works is downtown trying to clean up and somebody violates the parking ban. So I think it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. We already have a parking ordinance. Pretty much what that parking ordinance does is says from Depot Street and Wall Street, so through Ketter's law office. To this side of Everett's Tire and Cumberland Farms, there's no parking from November 1st to March 30th or something in that. Overnight. So that's where we're at, but I think that we should be looking at something that's
A little more.
a little bit more regulatory, but not as much regulatory as it is safety. Because if you're gonna have smaller vehicles moving around, people drive a little crazy in there anyway, so we need to minimize what we can, I think. So I've given you the town of Castine, which is, you know, pretty significant, and they're already stapled together, just pull them out of your binders and take them. Figure out what you like, what you don't, and we'll put this back on the agenda. Ideas, and maybe there's something that's not here that you know, what are we gonna do, or a problem that you have, then we just need to figure out how to manage through it. But I think we do need to look at it, and the process for traffic or parking ordinance, if it doesn't go to town meeting. The select board does it through public hearing processes, the select board can approve it, so. We don't need to rush it, but we need to get thinking about it seriously. All right.
Okay. Other business? Do you have any other business? Does the board have any other business? If I did, I would. So, moving forward, discussion action on agreement between the town of Norridgewock and Council 93.
All right, this is the union contract that's been negotiated. We will not be going into executive session. There was only one minor tweak after the last meeting, and that was in the bereavement section. There were relatives that were in that section that were plural, and there were relatives in the section that were singular. So ultimately, you know, the officer comma that you had at the dairy factory processing down in Portland, it came down to a comma in the placement of a comma. This ultimately would have meant that you would require more than one parent to die in order to be eligible for your bereavement. So I cleaned that up and sent that along, but in the interest of transparency, I'm going to breeze you down through this page. And then you folks can take action at your pleasure. So the proposed contract is agreed to by both parties right now is that it will be a 3-year contract. The town intends to contest the inclusion of 2 positions in the agreement and intend to file a unit clarification petition to determine their eligibility. That's a process through the state. That's the public works foreman, and that is the wastewater operator. Those are both supervisory positions, arguably, and so we're seeking clarification on that. That needed to be included. You had the relations for bereavement. There was language the union had proposed back a while about seeking alternate health insurance. That has been stricken just because they haven't moved on that. New employees will not receive a prorated benefit for their health insurance upon hire. They're just going to be entitled after in their first full month of employment. We're not going to delay the rollout of that benefit. Employees who decline town-sponsored health care in favor of another qualified plan, same as it is now, instead of the 40% reimbursement, we're going to offer them 50%, and that's to encourage wide use of public funds. Juneteenth has been accepted as a holiday. Mileage reimbursement will not be tied to the state of Maine. That was a disconnect. Now it's going to be tied to the IRS rate. Administration employees will be eligible for up to $300 per year for the purchase of work appropriate tops that will be branded by the town, and that is sort of in lieu of uniforms that we see at Public Works and wastewater. Sick leave is going to be amended to eliminate the need for earned paid leave calculation. Sick leave will accrue at 1 day per month. New employees will receive 1 full day upon being hired, and that brings them into compliance with the EPL regulations, so we can get away from that. We will, I think it was a sidebar kind of a thing, but anything that's earned paid leave will just be converted over to vacation to get that cleaned up and out the door. All employees will receive 85 cents per hour wage increase, 1/1/24, then 75 and 75 and 25 and 26. All longevity incentives have been increased by 25 cents an hour. And there was a 25 cent an hour increase incentive added for 5 years, knowing that we want to start acknowledging folks who've been here just for 5 years. Do the best that we can to retain them. Public works employees that use their cell phone for town business that are not offered a town cell phone will be entitled to a stipend of $25 per month, knowing that we have holes in our radiuses. So that's the summary of the changes. There are some board of selectmen or the select board and things like that that have been cleaned up as well. But that's where we're at. So if you have any questions, concerns, we can take that. Other than that, it would be a motion to sign the agreement between the town of Norridgewock and Council 93 AFSCME for the general unit local 2011-13, January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026.
So
So motion, second, and a second. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Then we will go into executive session. With town managers performance review. Oh, yeah, we need a motion. Yeah.
Motion to go into
There's a motion and a
second.
second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's it.
this one?
Or replay. All right, so, motion to table,
Motion to table, so moved.
there's a motion and a
Second.
second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, although I guess under discussion, we're waiting for a full board. Just so everybody's aware of that and why we're tabling. So on that note, all those in favor? Okay. Right, and just that last one there. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah, more than a second. There is no discussion on that. All those in favor, and that's everybody.